go ahead and call the Senate back to order. It appears the Sergeant at Arms has secured the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, we will substitute this morning's invocation for this afternoon session's the silence of the day. We'll double down on the silence. Are there has everyone recorded their presence? Generally, it appears to be the case. So the clerk will take the call. With 36 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is again back in session. All right, Senators, we have a fair amount of work to get through, and we're just going to try and push through as much as we can. We've got to get through the third reader, so we'll try to take up the second readers and sort of things that are hanging around for a while, and we'll just kind of take it, see where we can get. So 4:40 now, to be determined. Any introductions, any other administrative notes before we jump into things today? If not, so we consider the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We'll start with the Rules Committee. This is report number 2. Do we have the chair of the Rules Committee? Actually, let's hold on that for a moment. Sorry. We can do these of the rules. This is report number 3. Clerk will read the report.
Rules report number 3. All bills will go to their referred committees.
All right. Bills will be re-referred to their appropriate standing committees. We have a judicial proceedings report. This is report number 18. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill number 10, Senator A. Washington, State Highway Administration Speed Monitoring Systems Application Approval, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing the senator from the 25th District as a floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was so passionate about another bill back here that I almost forgot about this bill. But this bill, as amended, this bill establishes a 120-day time frame for the State Highway Administration to approve or deny an application or return an application as incomplete when a county applies to obtain the administration's approval to use a speed monitoring system on a state highway at a location within a municipal corporation. If the administration does not approve, deny, or return an application during that 120-day time frame, the application is deemed approved. In addition, the bill caps the amount of applications that a county may submit at 10 applications during any 30-day period. There are 2 committee amendments. The first is technical, and amendment number 2 alters the time frame from 90 to 120 days and adds the cap on the amount of applications a county may submit. I move that we accept the amendments and move for a favorable report.
Floor leader moves the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 10 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 465, Senator James, Criminal Procedure, Admission of Out-of-Court Statements, Assault in the Second Degree, favorable.
Recognizing the chair of the committee.
Ooh, yes, I'd like to see if we could special order this for 30 minutes and then.
All right. Senator moves we special order the bill for 30 minutes. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 487, Senator Henson, Motor Vehicle Speed Monitoring Systems Safety Corridors, Vulnerable Road Use Protection Act of 2026, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from the capital city is the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this bill authorizes the State Highway Administration to place and use speed monitoring systems on segments of highway identified as safety corridors. The administration may also authorize a local government to place and use such systems. The bill establishes various requirements related to the use of these systems that are substantially similar to existing requirements applicable to other systems used in the state. There are 2 committee amendments. Amendment number 1 requires only warnings to be used for the first 90 days after a system is installed. Amendment number 2 removes the authority of the Motor Vehicle Administration to suspend the registration of a vehicle for non-payment of a citation issued under the bill. Move for adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 487 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 689, Senator McKay, Task Force to Study Post-Release Services and Requirement, RISE Law, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from District 1 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, Senate Bill 689, Task Force to Study Pre-Release Services Requirements in honor of Bree Mae Weishar, who was brutally murdered. This bill, as amended, alters the duties of the task force on creation of a division of returning citizens and expands reentry services by including studying programs and services to prevent recidivism by individuals in the state after release from incarceration. There are 2 committee amendments. One is technical. Number 2 strikes the bill and alters the chapter law affecting the existing task force. Mr. President, I move that we accept the favorable report with 2 amendments in honor of Bree.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 689 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 811, Senator Hayes, Real Property New Home Sales, Entry of Final Sale Price and Multiple Listing Service, favorable.
Recognizing the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 811 requires a developer, builder, broker, or real estate agent within 30 days after the sale of a new home in the state to enter the final sales price of the new home into a multiple listing service or similarly accessible database. Multiple listing service means a database used by real estate professionals to facilitate the sale of a real property, including use in the preparation of market evaluations and appraisals. There are no committee amendments. Mr. President, I move the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 811 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 877, Senator Attar, Baltimore City Stop Sign Monitoring System Pilot Program, Mount Washington Neighborhood, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you very much. I feel like I'm back a part of the Baltimore City delegation.
You're always welcome, Senator.
So, Senate Bill 877, as amended, this bill authorizes for 3 years the use of stop sign monitoring systems on state and local highways located in a school zone in the 41st Legislative District in Baltimore City to record violations of state law requiring obedience to stop signs. That means no rolling stops. You have to stop at the stop sign. Existing statutory provisions that apply for other stop sign monitoring systems used in the state generally apply for the systems placed in accordance with the bill. There were 2 committee amendments. The first was technical, and the second expands the bill's authorization to apply to the entire 41st Legislative District. Mr. President, I move the amended favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 877 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 937, Senator Henson, Landlord and Tenant Residential Leases Prospective Tenant Criminal History Records Check, Maryland Fair Chance Housing Act, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing the bill sponsor as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this body has done so much great work in the area of justice reform and making sure that there are second chances and opportunities for people. And this truly is another layer of that work. This bill creates a pathway forward, opportunities for people to find housing. It truly is another layer that we can all be proud of. What Senate Bill 937 does is the bill generally establishes certain restrictions for a landlord's use of prospective tenants' criminal history records, in addition to other prohibitions. Among other prohibitions, the bill also reduces from 7 years to 3 years the applicable period of criminal history included in a reusable tenant screening report and mandates the data collection from an annual publication of related complaint information by the Office of the Attorney General. Violation of the bill is an unfair, abusive, or deceptive trade practice under the Maryland Consumer Protection Act, generally subject to the Maryland Consumer Protection Act enforcement and penalty provisions. A violator would be subject to a maximum of a $1,000 civil penalty. However, Mr. President, there are several amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 limits the bill's applicability to large landlords defined as landlords owning 5 or more residential rental units. The second part of that amendment clarifies that a landlord, before extending a conditional offer, may require information and may reject a prospective tenant based on whether that tenant has been convicted of certain offenses. It also permits a landlord, before extending a conditional offer, to consider whether a tenant has ever been subject to a registration requirement under a state or federal sex offender registry program. Additionally, amendments permit a landlord, after the extension of a conditional offer, to conduct a criminal history records check to consider a felony conviction under the criminal article if the conviction occurred within the previous 5 years or any conviction not previously disclosed as required. Additionally, the amendment replaces the Office of the Attorney General with the Office of the Landlord and Tenant Affairs as the office responsible for publishing certain information concerning the complaints. The amendments also alter the civil penalty of a violation of the bill to $500 as a maximum fine, and additionally provides that the act preempts and supersedes a local law or ordinance of a comparable subject matter. With that, Mr. President, I move for adoption of the favorable committee report with the amendments.
All right. Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Yes, recognize Senator from District 6.
Can I just have a couple questions, Mr. President?
Yield for the floor leader. Yes, Senator may proceed.
Thank you. Thank you. Very well said. I appreciate the explanation and everything. Mr. President, just a question on what kind of list do they have? Like if there's a predator and he's on that person's on a list, what kind of, I guess you could say, parameter or whatever that they do have, making sure that the people that live there are protected?
So the bill has 2 components. It has the initial screeners that they could screen a person out for and automatically say, if you have committed any of these offenses, the landlord could deny housing to the person. And then what it has is a second set of offenses where the landlord could deny housing to the person if they give them a conditional offer. So under the first set of offenses that the landlord could deny housing to the person, those include sex offenses, and that's if they're on a sex offense registry of any nature. And then they also have other offenses, some of those serious offenses that you might expect, like murder in the 1st degree. And then after they get through those initial set of offenses, what would happen is the landlord would then have the opportunity to screen them for all the other things that landlords look for. They would see if they were creditworthy. They would see if they had the income qualifications. They would look at all those other things. And then they would make a conditional offer for housing. Then they would do the other screeners to see what their criminal history was on the background check. That's when they could then look at felony convictions within the last 5 years.
No. Thank you very much. That's very well defined. And I just, caution is one of the best things that we need to have. And I believe in second chances, like I believe we all do. But I just want to make sure certain things are in place to protecting the innocent and our kids and families and single moms. So I appreciate that explanation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 937 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 984, Senator Smith, Correctional Services Private Immigration Detention Facilities Zoning Requirement, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing Chair of the Committee is the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As amended, this emergency bill prohibits, notwithstanding any other provision of law, the state or unit of local government from approving the construction or operation of a building, structure, or other real property as a detention facility by a private entity. In addition, the bill prohibits a private entity from operating or occupying a building, structure, or any other real property as a detention facility. The Attorney General may bring a civil action to enforce the bill's provisions. The court may issue a temporary, preliminary, or permanent injunctive relief to prevent the act or an act that would constitute a violation of the bill's provisions, and a private entity that operates or attempts to operate a detention facility in violation of this bill is subject to a civil penalty not exceeding $10,000 for each day that the violation continues. Mr. President, there are 2 amendments. Number 1 is technical, and amendment number 2 expands the bill to include all types of detention facilities operated by private entities. I'd move for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 984 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. We've got the special order. I think we have our floor leader back. This is 465. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 465, Senator James, Criminal Procedure, Admission of Out-of-Court Statements, Assault in the Second Degree, favorable.
Recognizing the bill sponsor is the floor leader.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 465 is designed to fill a gap in Maryland law. Maryland is the only state in the country, and in opposition to the Supreme Court, that when a witness is intimidated, the defendant cannot benefit from that conduct. So in Maryland, we happen to delineate first-degree assault as a felony and second-degree as a misdemeanor. In the rest of the country, there's no difference between a misdemeanor and a felony when a defendant intimidates a witness, causing them not to appear in court. So we are aligning with the rest of the country and the Supreme Court in making sure that witness intimidation applies when second-degree assault is being alleged. And there are no amendments, so I move the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 465 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Looks like we have another one out of judicial proceedings. This is report number 19. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 187, Senator M. Washington, Correctional Services, Comprehensive Rehabilitative Pre-Release Services, Female Incarcerated Individuals, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing Chair of the Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As amended, this emergency bill alters the specifications for the pre-release unit for women, now called the Reentry Facility, within the Division of Corrections, and establishes the requirements for the Department of General Services relating to protocols for construction of that facility. It also establishes requirements for the contract awarded to be built by the facility. It also alters the requirements and timeline for the comprehensive rehabilitative services that must be made available for female incarcerated individuals. And finally, requires progress reports to be provided to specified legislative committees. Mr. President, there are 2 amendments. Number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 alters the eligibility for women housed at the reentry facility and receive associated services, and strikes certain requirements for the site on which the reentry facility is located. I'd move for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 187 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to Budget and Taxation, Report 14. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 388, the President, Economic Development, delivering economic competitiveness, and advancing development efforts, favorable 2 amendments.
Recognizing President Pro Tem as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 388 is the Decade Act, which is a significant bill from the governor, and it strengthens Maryland's ability to attract, develop, and grow businesses within the state by removing barriers to investment and supporting proven programs and aligning economic development tools for their maximum impact. Now, this piece of legislation, as I mentioned, is an administration bill, and it alters various economic development programs and tax credits. The bill renames the Economic Development Opportunity Program account, also known as the Sunny Day Fund, to now be the Strategic Closing Fund, relocates this fund to the Department of Commerce, and makes various alterations to the fund. It alters various provisions related to the Maryland Economic Development Assistance Authority and Fund. It establishes the Maryland Small Business Development Financing Fund within the Department of Commerce, and it extends the Job Creation Tax Credit Program by 5 years to January 1st, 2032. It transfers the RISE Zone program and the Build Our Future grant program from Commerce to Medco, and also makes various alterations to those programs. It requires SDAT to waive the filing fee for a business entity that is in an eligible technology sector and located within a RISE zone. It also extends the R&D tax credit program for tax years 2026 through 2030. It alters the film production activity tax credit and it extends the employer and security clearance cost tax credit by 5 years through the tax year 2032, and alters property tax credits for enterprise zones, including expanding eligibility and clarifying that certain businesses may concurrently claim RISE zone and enterprise zone property tax credits. The committee has 2 amendments. The first amendment is technical. The second amendment restores the current 60-day period for LPC to review and comment on a certain report, and requires LPC to approve the proposed use of funds before funds from the Strategic Closing Fund may be expended. It also authorizes Ms. Bidfa a 3-year contract extension. It increases maximum investment cap in the Equity Participation Investment Program from $2 million to $3 million. It makes various changes to SMWOBA, including requiring Commerce to approve loan disbursements requests in 30 days, requiring Commerce to consider performance metrics when awarding funds to eligible fund managers, authorizing fund managers to use grant funds for marketing costs, and requiring Commerce to issue certain reports and conduct an annual review of fund manager grant awards. It also strikes the proposed 50-50 VLT split for SMWOBA and MSBIDFA. It exempts the sale of data or information technology and certain software services and digital codes and products from the sales tax if the buyer and seller are both part of an affiliated group. It strikes the biotechnology investment incentive tax credit provision out of the bill and makes various technical and conforming changes. Mr. President, I move adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Whew. All right. Floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 388 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Let's go back to that Rules Committee, report number 2. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 844, the President, Annual Corrective Bill, favorable.
Recognizing the chair of the committee.
I encourage the adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the favorable committee report on the annual corrective bill. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 844 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. All right, let's take up special orders. We'll go to 46, special order calendar 46. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 165, Senator Brooks, Environment On-Site Wastewater Systems requires for inspection and pumping services and implementation dates. Question is in the adoption of 2 committee amendments and the favorable report.
All right. The question before the body is on the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Recognize Senator has an amendment.
I think we need to adopt the
Before-
committee report. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Sorry.
On the amendments, any discussion on the committee amendments? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Senator has an amendment. Pages will collect and distribute the senator's amendment.
I was going to check with the floor leader to see if he had an opportunity to see if the amendments were friendly. I gave them to him yesterday, and I know he was working on it with some folks. So I don't know if the floor leader would yield or be happy to yield for the floor leader to tell me if this is a, if I guess I have to present
Well,
the
Senator
amendment.
has to present the amendment.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding me of the program, Mr. President. You know, sometimes we need a gentle reminder.
long week. It's a long
It has
week.
been. I apologize.
No worries.
The amendment I have here, I had 2 that I was going to propose, and this is not. These are just trying to get it right, not necessarily. This isn't your sort of like gut the bill type amendments. Honestly, I mean, it's just trying to make sure you get it right. The first amendment I have, this one would be that if a property is being sold for redevelopment, and the existing on-site wastewater system will not be used following the transfer of the property, that would be an exemption to not have to follow the bill. So that's the amendment, just essentially to.
Well, first, I want to thank the minority whip for bringing forward this amendment. But after careful consideration, and in light of the concerns raised by the Maryland Department of Environment, I must respectfully urge the body to reject this amendment. So, yes.
Well, can I?
All right. So the senator's moved the amendment. In response, the committee does not see it as a friendly amendment. We'll go back to the maker of the amendment.
Thank you. I wonder if I could continue just a discussion about it, because I'm curious.
Senator may proceed.
Could the floor leader? I mean, why? What's the problem with just making this? Seems like almost a technical amendment. Did they explain why they were opposed?
Yes, they did. Right. Yeah. MDE says MDE does not believe that this is a substantial benefit to pump outs occurring simultaneously with an inspection, and some conditions of a failing system might be. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong one. Let me go to no. Okay. This. Yeah, MDE believe that this can be made as a condition of a permit for repairs. If an inspection report says that the system is failing, but the tank is still viable, there may not be a need to abandon the whole system. Permits can last as long as a year, but installation might not occur at the same time of a transfer, and this could delay a closing. This seeks to exempt properties from inspection under the bill if a property owner wants to redevelop, meaning to raise a dwelling or rebuild. This exemption could be problematic since the eligibility for replacing a dwelling is based on what is currently on the property, which establishes a baseline for what can be rebuilt. An example would be a dwelling that has a cesspool. When someone purchases it without an inspection and applies to tear it down, the dwelling and rebuild the same or greater in some circumstances, the only answer could be a holding tank or a denial due to the condition of the previous dwelling being inhabitable.
Thank you for the explanation. Mr. President, I'm offering the amendment because this is an example of when we talk about trying to make things better for building more housing or upgrading properties, if we talk about things that make sense, I'm still not real clear on why we need this bill. But if this was brought to me by folks who work in the septic industry that they're not trying to get less business. They make they're trying to make sure it makes sense. If you're not going to be using it anymore, why would you have this This doesn't make sense. I would just press the amendment and ask for a roll call to add this to the bill.
All right, on the amendment, is there any further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 27 votes in the negative, Senator's amendment fails. Are there any further amendments? Senator, recognize the minority leader has an amendment. Pages will collect and distribute the Senator's amendment.
Thank you.
All right. Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And in trying to address some of the opposition to this bill, the Maryland Realtors issued a letter of opposition, an unfavorable letter that had to do with the actual inspections itself. If you remember, the bill would require an inspection of septic systems not only before rentals, but before the transfer of a property through a sale. And the realtors came back and said that these issues with septic systems normally are a point of negotiation between the buyer and the seller. And the way that the bill is written right now, it essentially forces a decision and could potentially stop settlements or at least delay them further. And so not wanting to go down that procedure of slowing settlements down and stopping them, one of the things that we had looked at and we talked to them about in the bill, in the uncodified language, on Section 6, it talked about the Department of Environment in consultation with the State Board of On-Site Wastewater Professionals shall adopt regulations to implement Section 2 of the bill. So Department of Environment's going to get together with subject matter experts and adopt the regulations. This bill simply adds the Maryland Realtors as another entity that they need to consult with in adopting the regulations, and to just make sure that that this can move smoothly, and that we do not have to put some of these settlements and sales of houses at risk. So with that, Mr. President, I ask to move the amendment.
All right, senators, move the amendment. Check with the floor leader.
Thank you. I respect and I appreciate the minority leader bringing that amendment forward, but unfortunately, we're going to have to. I'm going to have to ask the body to reject this amendment as well.
All right. All right. Let's see, Senator from the 38th District on the amendment.
Yes, Mr. President, and I rise in support of the amendment. Locally in Wicomico County, we have a work group that is really, for the past 2 or 3 years, working through very challenging septic issues and trying to balance these issues with also trying to move forward with some growth. And around the table at those meetings, we've got our government folks, we have private sector, and we have our realtors there because they are involved in these deals where the septics come up with buying and selling. This is a very reasonable amendment, and I would ask that the body support just including the realtors in this process.
All right. On the amendment, let's Senator from District 9 on the amendment.
Yes, this amendment was not offered in committee, and I gotta say, I'm having such a hard time with MD septics in Howard County that I think having the realtors at the table is a good idea. I support the committee product, but like we hadn't thought about this, and I do support this amendment.
All right. On the amendment, any further discussion of the amendment? Check with the floor leader.
Yes, these are regulations that are offered by MDE and so what was the other one?
These are regulations on everything from the professional qualifications.
These are regulations from everything from the professional qualifications to
how the systems are designed.
To how the systems are designed.
It's not just about property transfer.
It's not just about property transfer. It's about certification and procedures. Continuing education requirements for septic professionals. So I'm going to ask the members to.
Mr. President, might I?
Yes, I'll yield.
Yield to the chair.
Just listening to the back and forth here a little bit, we're on second reader. And in light of the fact that we didn't really have an opportunity to discuss this in committee, and we'll be meeting on Monday morning in committee, if appropriate, if we might want to special order this till first session on Monday, so that give the committee an opportunity to review this amendment.
Could we do end of the calendar or end of the day today? Would be
okay. That's
on
fine.
track.
I think just we need to have a little kind of internal discussion about this that we haven't had an opportunity to do so until now.
Mr. President.
Yes, questions on the special order?
I support the special order, and I wonder if other items could be considered. And the reason I ask that is because I feel like we're getting an agency telling us they don't want different things, but these are like technical things that folks have brought us that really understand how septic systems work. So it's not like, this is not the, hey, got the bill with this amendment. It's just trying to make sure things work properly. So hopefully we can consider the other amendment I had as well, because I think it's similar. But anyway, just putting that on the record, but I support the special order.
Understood. All right, let's say the end of the third reader calendars. Let's see where we get from there, if that's all right. All right, without objection.
That's all right, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Senator. We will special order to the end of the third reading calendars today. Let's take up. What do we have that's not third reading? Let's see. We've got special order calendar 50.
Senate Bill 320, Senator Muse, criminal procedure expungement, no finding in case terminated without finding. Bill is on third reading for final passage.
All right, this is on third reading for final passage. Do we want to? We're ready to move forward, right? All right, let's just do it on this one. Any discussion? Third reading, final passage. If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 320 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, let's go to the, special order calendar 51. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 626, Senator Lamb, Certificates of Birth, License Identification Cards, Designation, Birth Certificate Modernization Act. Question is the adoption of the favorable report.
All right, question is on the adoption of the favorable report. Recognize the senator from the 38th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amendment, but before I offer that, here you go.
Senator, we're not quite at the amendment, and we can feel free to hand it to the, but we have to take up the report first. Does the senator want to speak on the report or do the amendment? Either way.
Okay, I'll speak on the amendment. Thank you.
On the amendment, okay. All right, on the report, is there any discussion on the report? Any discussion on the report before we get to the amendments? If not, I'm sorry, yes, Senator from the Capital City on the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the floor leader yield?
The floor to yield. Senator may proceed.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the bill and trying to just get to the genesis of the birth record and understand that a little better. The birth registration or the birth record, when it starts, it's not just the certificate that we see printed off, but it's the birth record that collects much more information than is on the printed off certificate. But there's a record that collects information, and then the certificate is derived from the birth record, correct?
I believe so.
And the birth record itself, the part of that's in the section of the code in section 4-208 with the birth registration, correct?
4-208, I believe so, yes.
In section 4-208, it says that the birth registration has to happen within 5 days after the birth. And it says a few different things. It says that the attending physician, the physician's assistant, the nurse practitioner, nurse midwife, or attending clinician shall provide the date of birth and medical information that are required on the certificate within 5 calendar days after the birth. It then talks about legal information. So the first section with the physicians talk about date of birth and medical information. Then it talks about legal information, about the affidavit of parentage, and then it talks about if the parents are married, you'll automatically put the names of both parents on the birth certificate, and then all those different designations are made. Is that your understanding of it as well?
Correct.
Okay. But it does not allow the parents to put medical information on there. It just has the clinicians and the physicians adding the medical information, correct?
Does not allow the parents to put medical information, correct.
Correct. So the medical information that it talks about, it gives some specifics in there. It talks about that the physicians have to do a health screening or the hearing screening of the newborn, and that's some of the information that's put in on the birth record that contains all the information that just some of it is pulled off of for the birth certificate, correct?
Correct.
So when we're talking about medical information, is the sex of the newborn child a part of that medical information that the clinician is putting into the birth record?
Is the sex part of the medical information that the clinician is putting into the birth record? The sex is not, no.
It's your understanding that the sex of the child that's on the birth record is not input by the clinician?
It's not part of the birth record.
I'll ask it again. Is the part of the medical information that the clinician is putting into the birth record, does part of that include the sex of the child?
No, because the birth certificate is really an identity document. It's not a historical record.
I'm not asking about the birth certificate, the colorful document that you print off and you can use as an identity document. I'm talking about the birth record, the registration of the live birth that has this additional information that we wouldn't include on a birth certificate. In that record of the live birth, when the clinician is tasked with collecting the medical information, is the sex of the child a part of that medical information?
The birth record comes from the clinician who fills it out. There's
Correct.
a CDC-based form that the clinician fills out. That is not the birth certificate. It's the birth
Correct.
record.
And a part of the medical information that the clinician is putting in there is the sex of the child, correct?
I don't know because I have not seen that form. They don't, counsel is advising us that they're not seeing that on the form.
If we struggle to answer how the sex of the child is, let me strike that. So what is your understanding then of how the sex of the child is input on the original birth certificate?
It looks like it is on the CDC form that is completed by the clinician.
Correct. So the clinician is adding the sex of the child as a part of the medical information that the clinician adds to the birth record, correct?
Sure.
Thank you. So help me understand the clinical process, help me understand what that means. I'm not a physician, so help me unpack what that means in terms of the clinician and coming to the clinical judgment and understanding that.
So that is information that the clinician fills out. The clinician fills out to the best of their ability. That is different than what's being discussed here, which is the birth certificate, right? So the birth certificate is being used as, oftentimes now, as an identity document. You're talking about a birth record that is kept with the local health department, with the agency where this is originated. But the birth certificate, which is what's being considered here, can be updated. What this bill would do was allow those birth certificates to be updated with new information, for example, change of names, those types of things as well. That's different than what you're talking about with the birth record. The birth record is retained in original form.
I understand the bill, and what I'm understanding is that the birth certificate is derived from the birth record. So the information that's printed on the birth certificate comes from somewhere. It would be like if you had a spreadsheet that had a bunch of information, and let's say you wanted to pull a pie chart from your spreadsheet. So you said, run me a bar graph or a chart that tells me how many people have green shoes or whatever. And so you pulled that sampling of information and you created a graph that put it in information that was easy to understand. Similarly, the birth certificate takes from the birth record certain information for the purposes of identifying who a person is. So you pull that information and we put it on a prettier piece of paper so that people see it and can authenticate it with the colors and the pagination and the seals of the state of Maryland and all of those things. So the birth record links to the birth certificate because it is the source of the information that makes the birth certificate, correct?
At the time that that birth certificate is issued, but the birth certificate can change and be updated based on additional information. So for example, if someone gets their name changed, they should be able to get their name changed maybe because of marriage or other reasons on their birth certificate.
Certainly. So there is a part of the code that talks about amendments to vital records. So if we don't take the birth certificate in isolation, but we talk about all the vital records. When we talk about birth records, when we talk about death records, in section 4-214 of the code, it talks about amendments to vital records, and it talks about the responsibility of the secretary. And what it says there is, in any certificate of birth, death, or fetal death, if it's amended, the facts shall be certified to the secretary and entered on the original certificate with the date of the amendment over the signature or initials of the designee of the secretary with a line drawn through the original date. Is that your understanding of the process of amending the original record?
We allow changes not via amendment in the current law already.
My question is that your understanding of what happens to the original record?
I think the original record is kept at the agency that has it, the local health department, retains the original record.
Okay. And my question is because I'm looking under the bill where it talks about the procedure for amending a birth certificate. So understanding that the actual birth record, it has to have some sort of record where that is maintained, where you can see where it was stricken through, who verified the striking through, but it requires the secretary to have some sort of facts that are certified that justify amending the record. So the secretary is required to have a certain set of facts if they're going to amend the original record prior to making that amendment that would then necessitate changing the certificate that comes from the record, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
You know, this bill would allow someone to fill out an affidavit under penalty of perjury to have that record changed.
Wonderful. What is your understanding of penalty of perjury? What does that mean under the bill?
The penalty of perjury means if you are lying in response to this written document with the intent to deceive or for fraudulent practices, you could be charged with perjury.
So under the bill, it says that the person has to designate, and they make that designation under the penalty of perjury, but what does it prescribe that they have to? So I'll take one step back. For perjury to be sustained, it has to be the willful misstatement of a material fact. So if a person were convicted of perjury under this, what would be the material fact that they would be misstating? What's the misrepresentation they would make to be convicted under the perjury provision here?
So in this instance, if someone is filling out the form, an affidavit, with intent to deceive or for a fraudulent purpose, that would be considered under penalty of perjury if they make a misleading statement on that affidavit.
To deceive what? What would the element of deception be? What would be the thing they were not truthful about?
It really just depends on what their intent is. If they're trying to, you know, if somebody fills out an affidavit, for a fraudulent purpose to be able to get more money, that would be, the intent is to I guess to get more money or extort, right? So there could be, it really depends on the purpose that someone is filling it out. But I think what's important here is that the perjury aspect of that is dependent on someone having the intent and to make a fraudulent claim for some certain purpose, intentionally.
So for perjury, it has to be an actual, it can't just be the person wanted to be fraudulent and they had no specific thing they were seeking to be fraudulent about. It has to be material in their misstatement. So we have to be clear about what the person is not being truthful about. And the bill simply says you make the designation, and you make the designation under penalty of perjury. So to sustain a conviction for perjury, we would need to know what the person was not saying the truth about. So in the bill, if you look at the language that's being taken from the bill, when the physician had to create an affidavit, there was a set of standards for which the physician had to say, these things happened within a medical certainty, and I, physician, am saying that they happened. So if physician said a person had undergone a certain amount of treatment and did a certain thing, and the person didn't do the treatment, then you can say, physician, you've now perjured yourself because these things did not happen. These are verifiable facts. What facts would the person be attesting to that a person could say did or did not happen under the standard of perjury?
So the reason we're eliminating this requirement is multiple. One, there's an equity reason that for many of these individuals, they may not have access to a physician or provider to be able to get an appointment, just to be able to have a form signed off on, right? And so there's an equity argument for those that might live in rural locations, that might have lower income, to be able to get just a form to sign off on. And so in this instance, if an individual is attesting by affidavit under penalty of perjury that they are a certain gender, they should be able to do so and complete that form for a new birth certificate to be assigned. It streamlines the process for issuing a new birth certificate.
So is that the thing that would be tested to, if it were a trial for perjury, if someone said this birth certificate is fraudulent, it's not correct, and they wanted to bring a person up on charges of perjury, would we be subjecting them to a trial where their gender was being, or their sex, pardon me, was being litigated, and they would be required to show proof about their sex to a medical certainty? Or what is the thing that would be the element of perjury in a perjury trial?
Yeah, it would not be litigating the individual's sex. It would be litigating the individual's intent to commit perjury to deceive or for some fraudulent purposes. It's not relitigating the individual's
move on, but I will,
sex.
just for the record, challenge the fundamental understanding of perjury and how that works when it comes to a material misstatement of a fact and sustaining perjury. There was, under the previous version of the bill, a licensed healthcare practitioner had to sign a statement that the individual had undergone certain procedures, and then the healthcare practitioner would submit their affidavit. Did we have instances in the state of Maryland where people were able to successfully petition to change their sex on the birth certificate using the practice that's currently in place?
Yes, but this is streamlining that practice.
Certainly. And are you familiar with the case when it comes to the KL decision? And KL are the initials used on the court decision to protect the privacy of what was a minor child. Are you familiar with that court decision?
I'm not familiar with the KL case.
Okay. In the bill, it goes on to say that a parent could make these decisions about their minor child by simply filling out the affidavit as well, correct?
What this bill would allow for parents to do is to be able to request a new birth certificate for their child, which may be important in instances, for example, where a parent may have been a victim of domestic violence and they may have changed their name. And so when they are going to bring their child in to be registered for the start of school, for example, they may need to bring these identity documents like birth certificates to the school to present to get them enrolled. For privacy reasons, these individuals and these families should not have to, out themselves to these school individuals that their name doesn't match, that their name on their driver's license may not match the name of the parent on the birth certificate just because they were a victim of domestic violence or they had a divorce or whatnot. And so this bill would allow an individual to request a new birth certificate for their child to be able to update the parents' names on that birth certificate.
I'm talking about the children's birth certificate. On page 2 of the bill, lines 26 through 30, the individual, or if the individual is a minor or disabled person under guardianship, the individual's parent, guardian, or legal representative has made a written request under penalty of perjury for a new certificate of birth with a sex designation that differs from the sex designation of the original certificate of birth. So there it says that a parent can make the designation for their child's gender, correct?
Correct. A
And
parent can request a new birth certificate for their child.
Not just a new birth certificate, but the parent can make the designation of their child's sex.
That is that is existing statute.
And I just want to be clear, the existing statute had a physician's note attached to it. That's being struck from the bill. So the existing statute was the parent could make the request, they had to submit the physician's note with it, and then the rest of the statute that says the secretary must review that information, must find that that information was satisfactory, and then the secretary, under their duty to make sure it was authentic and satisfactory, could then decide to issue that. But what this bill says is that the parent could make that designation with no physician's note, and they could decide on their own to designate the sex of their child. Is that correct?
This is existing statute, and it's under the penalty of perjury. This is the existing statute.
I don't know that it's exactly correct to say that it's an existing statute when it would be striking the portion of the statute that requires a physician's certification.
The parent would be signing under penalty of perjury.
If penalty of perjury could verify a material statement of fact that the parent were making, but when the physician had to make a statement under penalty of perjury, the statute said exactly what the physician had to certify. What does it say that the parent has to certify?
The parent just has, this is again existing statute that says the individual or individual of a minor or the individual's parent has to make a written request under penalty of perjury, which is what we're adding to the statute, for a new birth certificate.
So you're saying that a request is a material misstatement of fact that could be used to prosecute someone for perjury?
If they're making a request with some intent to deceive or for a fraudulent purpose.
That's not the standard of perjury. But if we're talking about just the child and the parent now making this designation, so the parent would have the authority to legally change their child's sex by making the request, simply just making the request in writing under the penalty of perjury, which may or may not be enforceable, the parent would now have the ability to do that for the child on their own without any documentation under this bill, correct?
The documentation is an affidavit signed by the parent under penalty of perjury.
It does not, does it say affidavit?
Written requests, whether it says affidavit or not, it says a written request under penalty of perjury. So it's a written document that someone is attesting to, that a parent is attesting to, or guardian is attesting to under penalty of perjury. They could be charged with perjury under that.
It may be very hard to sustain. In the court's decision in KL, when the court was looking at a very unfortunate case where the previous version, the version of this law that, about what I heard you say, was working in the state of Maryland, that people were able to get their birth certificates rectified to match their sex, and they were able to do it successfully. When a person wanted to have their birth certificate changed to reflect their proper and appropriate sex, and they brought it to the court on a petition. In the KL decision, what happened was it was a child, and that child was under the state's care in a foster care situation where they were no longer in their parents' care. The child had a parent that was not respectful of their sex. The child's parent refused persistently to respect the child's sex and gender identity. What the court started off, though, was making a differentiation between sex and gender when trying to parse out and operate under the law that we created in the state of Maryland. The court started out in its reasoning by just kind of trying to level set for the legal people reading it. The court stated, as this makes clear, one's sex refers to the biological state of the person at birth, while one's gender is the gender one identifies with. So the court makes those distinctions when they use the term. So if I read from the court and they use one or the other, that's the court's reasoning on what one or the other means. But when the court was deciding what rights a parent had, the court decided that the parent in that case did not have the right to change the child's gender or sex, but only to consent to the child wanting or not wanting to change their gender or sex. The court said it wasn't the parent's right to do that. They could consent or withhold consent if they were a fit and proper parent, but the parent themselves could not make that decision on behalf of the child, is the court's holding in that case. Are you familiar with that?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm not familiar with the KL case, but in this instance, if this was brought to a court, the child would probably be brought up to attest that what they identify as, and the parent then could be charged if that's incorrect with what the child is identifying as. So the perjury there is on the parent filling out this written request that is not in accordance with what they're able to attest to.
So we would allow parents to make these designations without any sort of consultation or indication from the child, even if you have teenagers, someone 16, 17, 15 years old, without any regard for age or acuity of the child. The parent could simply go to the Department of Vital Records, put something in writing under a penalty of perjury, which we may or may not be able to enforce, and they could legally change their child's gender, and the child would have no rights and no voice, no ability to be able to have any say over that, because we've given the parents the authority to make that designation on their own.
No, the parents can still be charged, right? And so they could be charged under penalty of perjury because of what they completed in this written document that would be signed under penalty of perjury. A prosecutor could bring charges against them and call the child to the stand, call the parent to the stand.
So I'm glad that you used the word parent, because it does say in there the individual's parent. Well, what if the child has two parents? I spent some time practicing family law, but not too much time because it can be very stressful. But you will often have two parents that do not agree. So what if one parent makes the designation to change the child's sex, and then what if the other parent says, I don't agree? And then one parent changes the child's sex, and then one parent changes the child's sex back, and then back and back and back. Under the bill, they would be allowed to change the child's sex because on the text of the bill, it says the individual's parent. It does not require the consent of both parents. It would allow for one parent, and there is no limitation on how many times that could happen. It could simply be a race to the Department of Vital Records to continue to submit your written request under penalty of perjury to change the child's sex as often as the parent wanted to, correct?
They would not be able to change it back and forth because then evidently somebody would have committed perjury.
All right, senators, please, we could please. Two senators have the floor, please.
I was not able to hear your response.
Sure, they could not change it back and forth because then evidently somebody would have committed perjury as part of that process to be investigated.
Is there a provision in here that says if they committed perjury, they would no longer be able to submit another request to change their child's sex?
That is not a standard penalty of perjury.
Correct. So the parents could change the child's sex, and then another parent could change the child's sex, and it could be an inevitable cycle of parents that don't agree changing their child's sex under the text of the bill as written, correct?
So just to be clear, current law only requires that one parent sign to change that. So that is current law.
That's
And
your understanding that the current law is one parent can write on a piece of paper that they want to change their child's sex, and they can do that by writing it down?
Yes, that's current law.
Okay. Well, if we want to talk about amending a vital record in section 4-214, when it talks about parents making changes to the child's name, when it talks about that in section C1, it talks about parents being required to have a written request for a change of name and to have an affidavit sworn before a notary public of the state. And it requires that if two parents are listed on the child's birth certificate, that both parents must fill out that affidavit, and both parents must do that before a notary public to change the child's name. Do you think there should be a lower standard for changing the child's name on this section of the code than there should be for changing their legal sex?
I don't think we're changing the threshold. I think we're just streamlining. I think we're just streamlining the process for. I think we're just trying to streamline the process for someone to get a new birth certificate here.
Are you saying that it is not a different legal standard to require both parents present themselves before a notary and swear in front of a notary than it is to simply fill out a written request under a penalty of perjury that may or may not be legally enforceable?
Could you repeat that again?
Are you saying that it is not a different
Senator,
legal
just one
standard?
moment, just one moment. Senators, we can't hear. Please, please. If you have separate conversations, please take it outside.
Mr. President,
What purpose does the Senator rise?
move to a motion to postpone indefinitely.
Senator moves to postpone indefinitely. That is a non-debatable motion. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Roll call.
Senators requested a roll call. Madam Secretary, please ring the bells.
Special order. Anyone could have stood up in special order.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. By a vote of 21 to 20, the motion fails. The senator from the capital city has the floor. Recognize the floor leader.
Could I special order this bill to the next session?
Senator moves to special order the bill to the next session. Are there any objections? Without objection, we will special order the bill to the appropriate time next session. All right. Let's go to special order number. Oh, wait, did I miss one? I missed 48. 48, executive nominations, while we have everybody here. Clerk will read the report.
Executive Nominations Committee Report number 5. Question is, will the Senate advise and consent to the nomination of the executive?
All right, question is on the report, will the Senate advise and consent to the nominations of the executive? Senators, please take a look at the full report, Are there any names that senators wish to separate out independently? Any discussion of the report? If not, a green vote is to consent, a red vote is to reject. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, the Senate advises and consents affirmatively to the nominations of the executive. All right, where are we? Oh, what was this for? That's not it. Okay, we have Special Order 52. 52, the clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 807, Senator Bailey, alcohol beverages, Class 8 farm brewery and Class 10 farm distillery license. Question is on the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable report.
Question is on the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion, any objections? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections to the amended report? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there amendments? Senator has Senator from the 29th District has an amendment. Pages will collect and distribute the Senator's amendment. All right, Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a simple amendment. It removes a category that needs future consideration. I move favorable on the amendment.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the amendment. Any discussion? Any objections? Do we have it from the, let's check with the floor leader. Floor leader of the bill, Senator from District 8, any objections to the amendment?
No objection.
No objection from the committee. Any objections from the floor? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 807 is ordered printed for third reading. All right, looks like we have pretty much as many as we're going to have, generally. Let's do third readers. If we could do a quorum call.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Or presence, excuse me, recorded their presence. If so, the clerk will take the call. With 42 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Let's start with 51. This is third reading calendar 51. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 7, Senator Simon Eyre, Higher Education, Douglas J.J. Peters, Veterans of Afghan and Iraq Conflict Scholarship, repeal of termination date.
Senate Bill 7 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 7, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 176, Chair, Budget and Taxation Committee, Video Lottery Facility Payouts, Intercepts for Restitution Payments, Child Support Payments, and Debts Owed to the State.
Senate Bill 176 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 176 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 180, Senator Sidnor, Evidence, Interception of Oral Communications, Fair Housing Testing.
Senate Bill 180 is on third reading for final passage. Recognizing the minority whip.
Yeah, Mr. President, I rise in opposition to this bill. I really believe that our two-party consent law is one of the best things Maryland has going for it. I do also believe that if we're going to do exceptions for it, there are a number of other things that we should make exceptions for way ahead of whether there's a fair housing complaint. Now, I do know the committee is working on legislation on one particular crime that might also be included with this exception. I would urge them to do so. Because to me, this is not the thing that should pierce the veil of two-party consent, at the very least without a bunch of other things that should be done first. So my vote will be no on this, and I think it's, to be honest, if I didn't feel comfortable that the committee was going to be really looking at a couple of other things, I would probably be reading all of the things that we don't do two-party consent for. Sparing the body that because I do appreciate that there's a look at what we're looking at otherwise, but I am going to vote no on this bill because I don't believe this rises to that level. The two-party consent law is very important. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further? Yes, I recognize Senator from District 11 on the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. the gentleman from Carroll County, I appreciated his remarks because I think I stood up on this floor a year or two ago with the same exact concerns. But we actually had a bill today earlier, the colleague from District 16 who did exactly what you're talking about. So I am more comfortable supporting this piece of legislation because we are making those exceptions for violent crimes, specific violent crimes. But I rise in support because we're doing both this year. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator. Any further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. For 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 180 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 250, Senator Simonaire, Estates Maryland Uniform Simultaneous Death Act.
Senate Bill 250 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 250 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 309, Senator Jennings, Sales and Use Tax, Precious Metal Bullion or Coins Exemption.
Senate Bill 309 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 309 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 378, Senator Gazzone, Education Regional Resource Centers and County Libraries Funding.
Senate Bill 378 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 378 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 491, Senator Saling, Law Enforcement Officers Pension System, Military Service Credit Eligibility, Helicopter Pilots.
Senate Bill 491, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 491 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 594, Senator Bidel, Cannabis Advertising Alterations.
Senate Bill 594 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 29 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 594 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 631, Senator West, Corporations and Associations Revisions.
Senate Bill 631 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 631 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 704, Senator Mounts, Maryland Estate Tax Qualified Agriculture Property Transfer to Limited Liability Company.
All right, Senate Bill 704 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 704 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Yes, Senator from District 12.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to change my vote from red to green on SB 594.
594 from red to green. Our Senator have a vote change slip. Excellent. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right, let's go to 52. Third reading calendar number 52. Clerk, read the first bill.
Senate Bill 410, Senator King, Public Library State Funding Resource Center Funding.
Senate Bill 410, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote and wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 410 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 459, Senator Rosapet, Procurement, Advertising, Maryland News Organizations, Local News for Maryland Communities Act of 2026.
Senate Bill 459 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
you, Mr.
Senator
President.
from District 1 has 2 minutes to explain his vote.
Yeah, I just want to explain my vote. I want to just thank the good senator for bringing this bill that addresses a lot of the local news outlets in Western Maryland. And so I'm very proud to put a green vote and appreciate his help.
Thank you. All right. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 459 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 493, Senator Bidel, Nursing Facilities, Involuntary Discharge or Transfer.
Senate Bill 493 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 493 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 691, Senator McKay, Real Property Termination of Residential Real Estate Contracts, Contingency Clauses.
Senate Bill 691 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 691 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 710, Senator Quarterman, Correctional Officers Retirement System, Reemployment After Retirement, Exemption from Earnings Offset.
Senate Bill 710 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 710 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 714, Washington County Senators, Washington County Mobile Food Service Facilities and Semi-Permanent Food Service Facilities, Toilet and Lavatory Facilities.
Senate Bill 714 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 714 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 729, Senator Henson, Real Property Access to Council and Evictions Program, Expansion.
Senate Bill 729 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 729 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 747, Senator McKay, Condominiums Unit Owner Responsibility for Damage or Destruction and Mandatory Insurance Coverage.
Senate Bill 747 on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 747 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 881, Senator Kramer, Financial Institutions and Activities Licensing Requirement and Regulation of Commercial Financing.
Senate Bill 881 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 881 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Senator from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe I might have missed Senate Bill 710. I would like to be recorded in the green.
710 in the green.
I
Any
did vote.
objections?
Yes,
Any
sir.
objections? Without objections, so ordered. Senator from District 8.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to be recorded in the green on SB 493.
493 in the green. There's a Baltimore County affliction on that one. All right, let's go to 53, calendar 53. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 468, Senator King, Local Government Grant for Recipients of State Child Tax Credit Authorization.
Senate Bill 468, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 468 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 670, Senator Kagan, Election Law Authority at Polling Places, Revisions.
Senate Bill 670 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 38 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 670, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 734, Senator Lewis Young, State Retirement and Pension System Administration and Clarification.
Senate Bill 734 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 734 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 764, Senator Zucker, Education Minimum Wage for Education Support Professionals, Report on Estimated Cost.
Senate Bill 764 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 764 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 778, Senator Feldman, Clinical Research Pharmacies and Clinical Trials, Permits and Ownership.
Senate Bill 778 on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 778 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 814, Senator Hayes, Residential Property Service Agreement, Defunct Service Providers.
Senate Bill 814 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 814 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 822, Senator Smith, Correctional Services, Maryland Parole Commission, and Erroneously Convicted Individuals, Improvements in Transparency and Equity.
Senate Bill 822 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 822 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 858, Senator Hedelman, Department of Budget Management, Audit and Finance Compliance Unit Establishment.
Senate Bill 858 is on third reading for final passage. Recognize the minority whip.
I spoke to the bill's sponsor and also to the. Wondered if we could take this back to second reader for the purposes of amendment.
Senators move to reconsider the vote by which the bill was passed on to third reading. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Senator has an amendment. Pages will collect and distribute. Oh, do we have the amendment? Uh-oh.
That there was probably something
We
I was
still have
supposed to
plenty
do.
of time.
Could we do it for first session Monday? Or no?
Special order. We have plenty of time.
Special order for later tonight? Monday?
Let's do it to the end of the calendar. We'll see if it comes. If it gets there, we'll do
great.
it. So without objection, we'll special order the bill to the end of the calendar today. All right. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 859, Senator Hedelman, State Procurement and Personnel Liquidated Damages Documentation Requirements and State Fiscal Leadership Capacity.
Same thing here. All right. Okay. All right. Senate Bill 859 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 859 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 933, Senator Smith, Judiciary Department, Commission on Judicial Disabilities, Temporary Appointment. This is a constitutional amendment.
Senate Bill 933 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 933 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 941, Senator Henson, Department of Housing and Community Development, Severe Health and Safety Risk Properties Intervention Plan.
Senate Bill 941 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 941 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Let's do 50. Oh, we have one more. I'm sorry. It's an important one, too. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 970, Senator Zucker, sports wagering, independent evaluation of sports wagering.
I just needed an independent evaluator to check, make sure it was being done correctly. All right, Senate Bill 970 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 970 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right. Yes, Senator from the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recorded in the green for Senate Bill 468.
468?
Yes. 468, yes.
468 in the green. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. A 3-county affliction that time. All right. 54, calendar 54. Clerk, read the first bill.
Senate Bill 212, Senator Quarterman, higher education non-resident exemption for dependents of state and local public safety employees, Maryland Fallen Heroes Benefits Act.
Senate Bill 212 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 212 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 311, the President, Education, the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, revisions.
Senate Bill 311 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 311 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 324, Senator Augustine, Higher Education, Public Senior Higher Education Institutions, Direct Admission Program and Study.
Senate Bill 324 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 324 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 344, Senator King, Property Tax, Agriculture Use Assessment, Community Solar Energy Generating Systems.
Senate Bill 344 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 344 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 402, Senator Brooks, Residential Child Care Programs, Education of Children and Training of Child and Youth Care Practitioners.
Senate Bill 402 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 402 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 507, Senator Zucker, Public Schools, Individuals with Disabilities, Accessibility, and Emergency Planning.
Senate Bill 507 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 507 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 508, Senator Carrozza, Somerset County Board of Education, alterations. This is an emergency bill.
Senate Bill 502 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 508 having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. 55. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 534, Frederick County Senators, Frederick Community College Board of Trustees, meeting and training requirements.
Senate Bill 534 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 534 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 601, Senator Hester, Cybersecurity Standards and Compliance alterations.
Senate Bill 601, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 601 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 621, Senator Watson, Public Safety, State Fire Prevention Code, Trash and Recyclable Materials. This is an emergency bill.
Senate Bill 621 is on third reading, final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 621 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 624, Senator Feldman, Public Safety Short-Term Rental Units, Jillian and Lindsay Weiner Short-Term Rental Safety Act.
Senate Bill 624 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 624 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 627, Senator Lamb, Korean American Day.
Senate Bill 627 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 627 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 657, Senator Henson, Maryland Higher Education Commission, Practical Applications of Real Estate Appraisal Grant Program established.
Senate Bill 657 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 657 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 705, Caroline County Senators, Caroline County Board of Education, Member Compensation Increase.
Senate Bill 705, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 705 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill. I'm sorry. Next calendar, I had it in my hand already. Number 56. Clerk, read the first bill.
Senate Bill 719, Senator Love, Sewage Sludge, Per, and Polyfluoroalkyl Substances Regulation.
Senate Bill 719 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 41 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 719 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 720, Senator Hester, Education, Artificial Intelligence Guideline, Professional Development, and Collaborative Artificial Intelligence Ready Schools Act.
Senate Bill 720 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 720 having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 728, Senator Carrozza, Higher Education, Community College Promise Scholarship Eligibility, Delmar High School Graduates.
Senate Bill 728 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Should change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. 41 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 728 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 757, Senator Rosa Peck, Economic Development Local Sourcing Database.
Senate Bill 757 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 757 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 762, Senator Gazzone, Horse Racing Racetrack Facility Renewal Account Grants Alterations.
Senate Bill 762 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 41 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 762 having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 864, Senator A. Washington, Higher Education Tuition Exemption for Foster Care Recipients Eligibility.
Senate Bill 864 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 864 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 892, Senator Guile, Health Occupations, Public Health and Insurance, Menopause, Provider Training Coverage, Requirements, Policy Initiatives, and Access to Care.
Senate Bill 892 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote and wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 892 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Senator from District 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. Vote change on Senate Bill 344 from red to green. Followed my caucus here, but turns out I like Kings, so I'll go green on it.
344. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right. 57, calendar 57. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 274, Senator Sidnor, Fair Housing and Housing Discrimination Regulation, Discriminatory Effect.
Senate Bill 274 is on third reading, final passage. Recognize the minority whip.
Mr. President, I just wonder if I'd like to ask the floor leader yield for a question, because I think this one slipped by us a little bit, and there's some questions here.
All right, Senator May, will the floor leader yield to a question? Yes, Senator May proceed.
Thank you. So the bill deals with whether the Department of Housing and Community Development can adopt regulations to carry out the following section. It adds that it's against the law for there to be discriminatory practices in housing based on race, color, sex, creed, and a number of other protected classes. That's current law. This bill, even with the amendment, says that it prohibits practices, even acts that have a discriminatory effect. And discriminatory effect is defined as an effect that actually or predictably has a disparate impact on a group of persons because of race, color, religion, sex, disability, marital status, familial status, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, source of income, or military status. The problem with this is I see it, and perhaps you can help me understand. So if I have an apartment building and I end up with predominantly single men in it and not a lot of women, is that a discriminatory effect that there are not enough women in it? If I'm renting out 40 apartments and for some reason I end up with 28 single men?
No.
Why is it not under this bill? That's a discriminatory effect.
No, that's not. What this bill is intended to do is to codify what is already law under the Inclusive Communities case, which is a Supreme Court case that was held back, I think, about 12 years ago, where you had the Texas Housing Department using their tax credits in such a way that it was, taking a good portion of impoverished people and segregating them into a certain part of the community. The whole idea of disparate impact, this whole concept comes at the time when at the federal level, our housing department is attempting to make modifications through its executive orders, and so what we're trying to do here is just to make certain that we continue to follow the fair housing laws.
So have we been in violation of fair housing laws since this court case was passed against Texas?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So why now are we changing? Because to me, I see disparate impact. I don't support anybody be discriminated against for any of those reasons when they're looking for a place to live. Does this only apply, by the way, to housing?
This is under the fair housing portion of the.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So, but disparate impact, does that imply, going to the court case, does that imply that if the state has a program that has tax credits for housing and somehow you end up that one particular racial group dominates and gets more of it, that's a disparate impact? How does disparate impact, I guess, what is disparate impact for the purposes of the bill? What would be a violation?
So if I may, I'm going to read from the state, Maryland's Commission on Civil Rights. What they said is that Senate Bill 274 codifies existing case law. It will not have an impact on the way that they currently enforce Maryland's housing anti-discrimination protections found in Title 20 of the state government article. Instead, or rather, it insulates Maryland from potential legal challenges seeking to overturn the Griggs versus Duke Power case, and more specifically to use the use of disparate impact theory that the U.S. Supreme Court says is a violation of both the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Fair Housing Act of 1968.
Okay, okay. A lot of court cases. For the laymen among us and laywomen among us, we're not violating the law, but we're doing this because someone might sue us if we don't put this in our law. Am I summarizing that correctly?
So the Griggs case, which this testimony is speaking about, was the case where disparate impact theory was first kind of held, and where it holds that a housing practice is unlawful if it adversely affects one group of protected people more than another, despite the practice being applied neutrally and without intent to discriminate.
But how can it be discriminatory if it was applied neutrally?
It happens, and I'm trying to see if, let me see if I can find.
Well, let me follow up, please. While you're looking, I guess my question is, how can it be discriminatory if somebody wasn't discriminating? Discriminating is the act of saying, I see this person and I'm not giving them the benefit, the house or the whatever, because they are Asian or black or white or woman or man. If you didn't do that, how are you discriminating?
Not necessarily. So under the disparate impact theory, again, it looks at acts that have taken place over a long period of time. So it's not one specific act. It's kind of the multitude of acts put together, seeing that it's adversely affecting a population in a discriminatory manner.
But you see how that could be, the senator can see how that could become a very slippery slope.
It's already the law.
Disparate impact is in the law?
Yes, it is, under the Griggs case, which was then, again, the inclusive communities case that I mentioned earlier. It ensured that disparate impact theory was still law of the land.
But with the Griggs case, is that a federal case or a state case? I may have
The
misunderstood.
federal cases. These are Supreme Court cases.
So then why do we have to change our law?
This, again, is, I guess you could say it's a prophylactic measure, because right now you have the administration that under this executive order that they published some months ago, they're trying to undermine disparate impact theory.
They're trying to get away from, so the concern is they're trying to get away from saying something that has a negative outcome is inherently racist or discriminatory.
Not saying that it's racist. It can be
discriminatory. No, that's better. You're correct. I withdraw the discriminatory. Part of that challenge is because the attitude that if an outcome is negative for a particular group, that it's the fault of, why would it be considered it's the fault of, what's the perfect mix we're shooting for, I guess? Like, what's the perfect blend here where you look at disparate negative impact, and I guess nobody here wants a law school class on what disparate impact is, but how long has disparate impact been considered the law of the land? Was that court case from 2012?
1971.
1971.
That's the Griggs case.
So the Griggs case was in 1971, and it said if you're setting up a system that ends up where inherently people are being, I see how it can happen. I get the point of you have to watch, if all of a sudden it's like, well, golly, for 8 years we've had fewer and fewer of a particular protected group getting this benefit, so you should say that could be a sign that your process is discriminatory. But I worry about putting this in our law that it would make it like if there's a disparate impact in a, I guess what I'm really trying to find out, is this going to be applied at a micro level or a macro level? So I don't want I don't have a lot of big apartment buildings in my district, but I don't want an apartment building being like, hey, somehow you take vouchers for housing, but somehow you've ended up with a very homogenous group of people here, and there's not a lot of maybe racial diversity or a lot of gender diversity or whatever. I'm assuming that's not what this bill's about. I'm assuming it's about state policy practices.
So with disparate impact theory, it's essentially a burden shifting way that the courts use to try to determine if there's another race neutral way of dealing with an issue.
But what is the evidence that there's been a disparate impact? Is it that, for example, I assume in the case of you were talking about Texas, perhaps it's like African American people were disproportionately only able to get housing vouchers in a particular section? Is that kind of the?
So if I may read, this is page 4 of the NAACP's Legal Defense Fund. Their written testimony says disparate impact discrimination occurs when a policy or practice disproportionately harms a group of people with a legally protected characteristic like race, sex, including sexual orientation and gender identity, national origin, religion, familial status, and disability, and there is either 1, no legitimate reason for the policy or practice, or 2, another policy or practice would achieve the same goals without causing those harms.
Okay. Does the department supports the bill?
Yes.
Okay. All right. But this is about the department practices, though, correct? This is not in private. This is not changing law for private sector.
No, this is for everybody. This is the law of the land. This is current law of the land.
Well, how? But then why do we need the bill? Because you think it might change? Because people think it might change. So I'm sorry. People think it might change.
Yeah, there you go.
So this will make it state law permanently moving forward.
Correct.
Okay. I probably have more questions, but I think we've had a good discussion.
I think it's Friday night and
Thank
time
you.
to go home.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I think we got to think about this one. Thank you.
All right. On third reading, final passage, recognize the Senator from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can the floor leader be available to answer a question?
Senator may proceed.
Sure.
Thank you. So this is in practice right now, correct?
Yes, sir.
And basically, as I understand it, if the federal government changes it, we're just enshrining in the state the manner in which has been always done this way.
Yes, sir.
And so, if I'm not mistaken, there was no opposition from any of the large corporations that would represent that.
You're correct.
And if I'm not mistaken, there on the committee, there might be a voice of small landlords who didn't have a problem with said bill.
Why, yes, there was.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
President.
you very
Appreciate
much.
the clarification there.
I appreciate that, and just to be clear, it was a unanimous vote out of committee.
All right. Thank you, Senator. All right. Third reading, final passage. Any further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the almost very close call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 274 having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 346, Senator Waldstreicher, Civil Actions, Violation of Constitutional Rights, No Kings Act.
Senate Bill 346 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote.
Mr. President, I'd like to explain my vote
Recognize Senator from
just for a
District 6.
moment.
Just 2
Thank
minutes
you,
for
Mr. President.
explaining
I
the vote.
mean, I've heard more than once that if we could change the title, I think people on this side of the aisle would vote for it. But I think this is very political. I think we're better than this as the Senate. We always say we are the Senate of Maryland. And I believe that we do things in a way of respect. And just the title, for that reason, I'll vote against it, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 346 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 352, Senator Charles, Motor Vehicles, Special Registration Plates, Old Line Plates, Old Line License Plate Program Act of 2026.
Senate Bill 352 is on third reading for final passage. Recognizes Senator from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the floor leader yield, please?
Senator
Thank you,
may
Mr. Floor
proceed.
Leader. I'm going to have a question, but I want to give you a little background first. So 20 years ago, when I was in the House of Delegates, my very first bill was to protect the Chesapeake Bay Trust tag and the ag tag. And so for a number of years when I chaired the Transportation Subcommittee, we continued to protect those tags. And almost every year someone brought in a competing tag, and every year we did not let it out because we protected the Bay tag and the ag tag. I currently serve as the Senate appointment to the Chesapeake Bay Trust. This is my 8th year serving the trust. I kind of got a panic call the other day when you were on the floor with this bill because of the competition now with the Bay tag. So I just want to mention a couple of statistics. On the average, the Bay tag raises about $3.5 million from sales of the Bay tag. They turn that into 25 or 30 million in grants. And almost every senator in this room, or I can guarantee every senator in this room, has projects in their district from the Chesapeake Bay Trust. Might be stormwater, might be trees, might be gardens, but you all have projects from this 30 million or so that the trust spends every year. So Senator, my question to you as the floor leader, did you have conversations with the Chesapeake Bay Trust during these hearings?
I did.
And were you not influenced by the competition that this bill was going to present to the Bay tag?
Was very influenced, hence why we added 10% to go to the Bay tags and 10% to go to the ag tags. And then in addition to that, Joe, go from 99,999 tags to 999 tags. We made a heck of a bunch of concessions to appease the ag tags and the Bay tags. So
well, and I thank you for that. And you heard that one of our colleagues from Montgomery County talked the other day. He got beat up pretty bad a couple years ago on a hero tag. It's not about the 10% to the Bay tag. It's about the competition. It's about the camel's nose getting under the tent, to say an analogy. Once we start, there will be more tags and more tags that will compete. Florida now has 170 different tags. There's almost no funding that's raised for any one organization from those tags. We are almost at capacity in Maryland with the special tag. We're at about 8%, and 8 to 10% is when you reach capacity, where people, more than that, they don't buy, they don't spend the money for a special tag. So I will say this, I'm going to be voting against the bill because I really truly believe that we need to continue to protect the Bay tag and the ag tag. But I ask all of you when I'm not here that next year, please remember the comments. Please don't bring in more competing tags because the Bay tag and the ag tag is not going to survive if we continue to compete with it. So thank you, Senator.
All right, thank you. Yes, recognize Senator from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. In support of this bill, I'd just like to thank the senator for working, I believe, for the concerns that the chair of finance had brought up. I true 100%. If the good Lord sends me back here, ma'am, we will make sure that this is not the camel's nose under the tent, and we will not be doing this. I serve on the MAFE board, and I thought that this was a good way to be able to thread the needle, but I give you my commitment that one and done. And the fiscal note talked about bringing up $268,000. So at the end of the day, while the grants that are very, very important to the Bay and to ag, what we are talking about is minuscule because of the 999, and then also they're going to get $26,000 each of those, or $28,000. So I understand, and I will carry that mantle.
All right.
Thank you, Senator.
All right, on third reading, final passage, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone who wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 352 having received the constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 486, Senator Carrozza, Higher Education, Maryland Graduate and Professional Scholarship Program, eligible institutions.
Senate Bill 468, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 486 have received a constitutional majority. Is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 509, Senator Rosapep, Higher Education Workforce Pell Grant Implementation.
Senate Bill 509, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Yes, Senator has 2 minutes to explain his vote.
I appreciate it very much, and I apologize for taking 2 minutes on Friday night. I just want to bring to the body's attention and thank some folks. This is a very significant bill in terms of bringing money to Maryland to help workforce development, help apprenticeships, obviously, if I'm getting up on it, but all kinds of workforce development. Basically, there was a golden nugget in the big ugly bill that created this nationwide, but states have to opt in and design the program. And I worked very closely with the committee staff, with the chairman, with members, with the governor's office, with the Higher Education Commission, the Labor Department, and specifically the executive director of the Governor's Workforce Development Board, who's a national leader on these issues. And I think with this legislation, we're going to become national leaders in making Workforce Pell work for our workers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Agreed. Great bill. All right. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, clerk will take the call. 37 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 509 have received a constitutional majority. It's declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 554, Senator Hayes, Baltimore City School Commissioners Appointment Process and Compensation Alterations.
Senate Bill 554 is on third reader, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 554 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 558, Senator Bailey, Chesapeake Bay Enhancement Program and Maryland Seafood Industry Financial Assistance Fund, established.
Senate Bill 558 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 558 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed.
Mr. President.
Yeah, sorry, I was just doing the folders just keep coming. They just keep coming.
I was trying to slow those down a little bit. Can Senate Bill 509 be recorded green?
509 in the green. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Senator from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 657 from yea to nay.
656 yea to nay. Is that right? 657?
I'm sorry, 657, sir.
657, 657, all right. Senator from District 12.
Like the minority leader, 509 in the green.
509 in the green. Any objections? Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right.
Mr. President.
Yes, Senator from the 29th.
Thank you, Mr. President. 657 from yea to nay.
657 yea to nay. I tried to slow down. I thought that one, but yea to nay. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Senator from the 37th.
Same situation, Mr. President. 657 from yea to nay.
657 yea to nay. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right. Calendar 58. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 413, Senator Bidel, State Board of Morticians and Funeral Directors, Board Operations and Regulation of Crematories and Reduction Facilities.
Senate Bill 413, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Does everyone record their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 413 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 645, Senator King, State Board of Sign Language Interpreters Membership and Licensing.
Senate Bill 645, third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 645 having received the constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 648, Senator Heddleman, Local School Systems Educator Screening Educator Identification Clearinghouse, School Personnel Vetting and Hiring Transparency Act.
Senate Bill 648 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 648 having received the constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 694, Senator Smith, Human Relations Violations of County Discrimination Laws Complaints.
Senate Bill 694 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 694 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 709, Senator Carrozza, Education, Purple Stars Schools Program and Purple Stars Colleges Program.
Senate Bill 709 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 709 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 770, Senator Ferguson, Economic Development, Maryland's Future Board Establishment.
Senate Bill 770 is on third reading, final passage.
Mr. President?
Yes, recognize the minority leader.
Thank you very much. I know we have passed a number of bills that had funding requirements for grants. If maybe possibly the chair of B&T could answer a quick question. If
recognize the chair.
I'll try. Thank you. I know when we had passed this, there wasn't funding dedicated for it. I didn't know if this year's budget ended up doing that or not.
It does. I'm not positive. It's either 1.5 or 2 million.
Okay, that sounds appropriate. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right. Third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Oh my goodness. Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? Yes. Recognize the minority whip.
Just explain my vote quickly. I voted against the bill in committee, and we were checking on the funding of it. Also, I'd expressed, and I just expressed some desire. I think it's good to be looking to the future. I also strongly believe, and we've talked about it a lot on this floor the last few days, there's a lot of things we do that make it harder for our job creators and make it harder for families to live here, that make it more expensive. And we can look at things for the future. We want to be planning for the future, but I strongly believe if we would examine the policies of states where we're losing some of our people to, and see what can we look at there, and what could we reverse, what could we slow down, what could we change, that will have an immediate benefit. So, but I do want to vote yes, because I know we need to also look to the future and look at what our priorities and our advantages are. And so I'm voting green here on the floor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. All right. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 770 have received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 928, Senator Harris, County Board of Education Student Electronic Communication Device Use Policy, establish Maryland Phone-Free Schools Act.
Senate Bill 928 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 928 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. All right, let's go to 59. Clerk, read the first bill.
Senate Bill 290, Senator McCray, Baltimore City Ordinance Enforcement, Fines and Penalties.
Senate Bill 290 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 290 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 464, Senator Muse, Commission to Examine the Expungement Laws of Maryland.
On Senate Bill 464 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 464 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 483, Senator McKay, Criminal Procedure Automated Shielding Clean Slate Act of 2026.
Senate Bill 483 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 33 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 483 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 524, Senator M. Washington, Juvenile Records accessed by Baltimore City Mayor's Office.
Senate Bill 524 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 524 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 673, Senator A. Washington, State Procurement Apprenticeship Program, Accountability and Completion.
Senate Bill 673 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 673 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Let's go back to, we have the 858. We have the amendment prepared. If we could pull that up, Madam Clerk.
Senate Bill 858, Senator Heddleman, Department of Budget Management, Audit and Finance Compliance Unit Establishment. Bill is on second reading and open to amendment.
Recognizing the Senator, the Minority Whip has an amendment. Pages have collected and distributed the amendment. Senator, want to explain it?
Thank you, Mr. President. I really appreciate the kindness and indulgence of the sponsor and the body. We had just had some folks that really wanted to be added as co-sponsors, and so it's a co-sponsor amendment.
All
And
right,
we appreciate working on this issue. This has been something we've worked on together, so we appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Senators, move the amendment. Any objections? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none. Senate Bill 858 's hereby ordered printed for third reading. Okay. All right. Senate Bill, third reading, calendar 60. Yes, recognize the Minority Leader.
Mr. President, it's getting late. Just so we know to prepare, you know, sometimes you might have seen over here that we have pieces of paper that try to keep us up to date with what's going on to make sure that we are not voting for any bad pieces of legislation we might not have remembered about. A lot of these calendars just got added on. They were not here when we got here at, what, 4 hours ago, 3.5 hours ago. Can we just get an idea of what we might be doing third reader wise so we can be a little bit more prepared?
I think we've got about 3 more calendars, and then we've got some second readers and some layovers. So we got about another 2 hour and a half.
Or the other option is to get here a little bit earlier on Monday? I mean,
Not
is that
really,
possibly?
no.
We don't want to get here Monday either? We want to finish this on Friday evening?
I mean, we can do tomorrow. Tomorrow at 8:30 a.m.?
Are we? No.
Tomorrow at 8:30?
I think it's supposed to be
Special order
65
8:30?
degrees tomorrow. How about that?
Even better, even better. Where else would you rather be? All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Calendar 60. Clerk, read the first bill.
Senate Bill 608, Senator Mounts, Maryland Medical Assistance Plan and Health Insurance Pharmacogenic Testing Required Coverage.
All right, Senate Bill 608 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 608 having received the constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 625, Senator Feldman, Carbon Dioxide Capture, Removal, and Sequestration Projects, Regulations, and Standards.
Senate Bill 625 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 625 having received a constitutional majority is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 661, Senator Love, Wiretapping and Electronic Surveillance, Intercepted Communications, Admissibility of Evidence.
Senate Bill 661 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 34 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 661 have received a constitutional majority. Is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 739, Senator Kramer, Climate Change and Homeowners Insurance and Emergency Management Study.
Senate Bill 739 is on third reading, final passage. Recognize Senator from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like the floor leader to relay what the committee report was. It's not in the system, what the vote was.
Votes on. With floor leader yield.
Yeah, thank you. My recollection, Mr. President, is this was a party and that the vote had all of the majority party supporting it, and I don't recall that any of the minority party supported the bill.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, third reading, final passage. Any discussion?
Mr. President.
Yes, recognize minority whip.
Unlike the effects of climate change, this calendar has been moving quickly. I just read a report about sinking land in the Eastern Shore, and it was urgent that the Eastern Shore in the last 10 years has sunk lower by 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter. It was a 5-alarm fire. I'd just like to point out, whenever we talk about climate change and homeowners insurance, that former President of the United States, Barack Obama, a number of Hollywood celebrities, they all buy homes right on the water, despite their concern for rising oceans and the climate. My friend from Montgomery County spoke earlier about wildfires in the West, as if there weren't wildfires going on 20, 30, 40, 50, 500 years ago. Now, the climate does change and move, and that's fine, but I don't know that we need a study from the University of Maryland to tell us about it. And I think we should probably just maybe save this bill for a later date. So, Mr. President, my vote will be no.
All right. All right. Madam Secretary, could we please ring the bells? All right. Third reading, final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? And wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. Nope, hold on.
Oh, no.
That's all right. We're gonna have to they're gonna have to change the back. It's all right. All right, with 31 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 739 have received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, let's keep going. 753, clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 753, Senator Kramer, Fiduciary Institution Exploitation of Seniors, Vulnerable Adults Protections and Required Referral, Vulnerable Adult Banking Protection Act.
All right, Senate Bill 753 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion?
Mr. President?
Yes, I recognize
Just
Senator
wondering
Fishler.
if the floor leader could, again, tell me what the vote is, because it's not in the system.
Hold on. Before we do this, we're gonna get through this calendar and do second reader. So we've got 4 bills left. And please, Senator may proceed. But
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. My recollection is that this was a unanimous favorable report by the committee.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr.
We
President.
love protecting our seniors in the Finance Committee.
all right, Thank you, Senator. Any further discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 438 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 753 have received a constitutional majority. Is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 754, Senator M. Washington, Land Use Preservation of Natural Resources.
Senate Bill 754 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 439 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 754 have received a constitutional majority. Is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 766, Senator Zucker, Taxes Whistleblower Reward Program alterations.
Senate Bill 766 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 38 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 766 have received a constitutional majority. Is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 805, Senator Heddleman, Income Tax Student Loan Debt Relief Tax Credit alterations.
Senate Bill 805 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 805 have received a constitutional majority. Is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 818, Senator Hayes, State Center Development Contract Plan Requirements and Advisory Group.
Senate Bill 818 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 39 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 818 have received a constitutional majority. Is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 823, Senator Smith, Correctional Services Maryland Parole Commission, members.
Senate Bill 823 is on third reading, final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 30 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 823 have received a constitutional majority. Is declared passed. We're going to take up a calendar from Triple E. In the meantime, the Italian caucus, the informal Italian caucus, has graciously offered for some subsistence in the lounge for those who would like to partake. Recognize the senator from the 37th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I got mixed up. Senate Bill 739, I should be recorded as no.
739 from yay to nay.
Yeah,
Any objections? Without objection, so ordered.
And Senate Bill 661, I should be recorded in the green.
661 no, nay to yay. 661 nay to yay. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. I recognize the senator from District 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 739 from yay to nay.
Yay to nay, 739. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Any further? Senator from the 38th? Oh, no. Oh, perfect. Okay. We are on. Oh, yes, Senator from the 29th.
Yes, 661 from nay to yay.
661 nay to yay. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. All right. Report number 24. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 559, Senator Bailey, Natural Resources Recreational Striped Bass Catch, reporting favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from the 38th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, Senate Bill 559 requires the Department of Natural Resources to establish on or before December 31st, 2026, a recreational fishery data collection program to develop and implement a data collection system for recreational anglers in the state. On or before December 31st, 2027, the department must report on the findings of the program, including a work plan detailing the proposed development and implementation of a data collection system for recreational anglers. There are 2 committee amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes provisions that would have required certain individuals to report recreational striped bass catches and instead requires the Maryland Department of Natural Resources to establish the recreational fishery data collection program as previously described. I move favorable on the 2 committee amendments and move favorable on SB 559 as amended.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Is it? All right. Sorry, all good. Sorry. Senators move for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the 2 committee amendments, any discussion? Any objection? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 559 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 599, Senator Hester, On-Farm Organics and Wasted Food Reduction and Diversion Grant Program established, favorable with 2 amendments.
All right, Senate Bill 599. Recognize Senator from District 9 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as amended, Senate Bill 599 establishes an on-farm organics diversion and recycling grant program administered by the Maryland Department of Agriculture to award grants for developing and implementing on-farm organics recycling and compost use, waste food prevention, and food rescue. There are 2 committee amendments. The first one makes technical changes and adds a co-sponsor. The second amendment adds an appropriation of $250,000 per year beginning in fiscal 2028 for the on-farm organics diversion and recycling grant program and strikes provisions of the bill that would have established 2 additional grant programs in the Department of the Environment. I move the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Any discussion of the amendments? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 599 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 610, Senator Mouse, Department of Natural Resources, Commercial Blue and Flathead Catfish, Finfish Trot Line License alterations.
Recognize the senator from the 35th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as amended, Senate Bill 610 expands the existing invasive blue catfish pilot program in the Department of Natural Resources to include a blue catfish gill net program. The amendments also extend the pilot program through 2030 and require the department to submit annual reports on the activities of that pilot program to the Senate Committee on Education, Energy, and Environment, and also the House Environment and Transportation Committee. There are 2 committee amendments. The first one is technical. The second strikes provisions that would have made changes to the commercial blue and flathead catfish, finfish trot line license, and instead make changes to the invasive blue catfish pilot program as previously described. I would like to move the 2 committee amendments and ask for adoption of the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 610 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reading. I just couldn't understand why they were putting it as striped bass instead of calling it rockfish. That was what I was so thrown off by. So, I still can't get over it. All right. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 879, Senator Attar, Baltimore City Natural Resources Sunday Deer Hunting and Archery Hunting Safety Zone.
Recognize the senator from Baltimore City and County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, Senate Bill 879 decreases the archery hunting safety zone in Baltimore City from 150 yards to 50 yards from a dwelling, house, residence, church, or other building or camp occupied by human beings. There are 2 committee amendments. The first amendment is technical. The second one strikes the language that would have authorized the hunting of deer on each Sunday of the deer bow hunting season in Baltimore City, and provides that the decreased safety zone does not apply in the legislative district 43A. There was no opposition to the bill. The bill passed the committee unanimously. Ask for a favorable committee to adopt the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves to the adoption of the. Just a moment. Have the. Sorry, we just have we have a slight issue on the computer with the committee amendments. For some reason, are not being drawn up. There we go. All right, on the amendments, any discussion, any objections? Without objection, the committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 879 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. All right, now we have some fun ones. Let's go to layover calendar 29. See what we can do here. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 532, Senator Kagan, Higher Education Institutions Over-the-Counter Contraceptions, Access and Reporting. Question is on the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable report.
All right, question is on the one committee amendment. Recognize any objection to the one committee amendment? Appears not. One committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report.
Mr. President?
Yes, recognizing the minority leader.
I mean, if we're going to go over layovers and special orders, is it appropriate to ring the bell?
We can ring the bell, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
Make it very clear, it was the minority leader that rang the bells.
And Mr. President?
Yes, recognize
If I could just say the Lady Terps won 99 to
excellent.
67.
Great job.
Go
Lady
Terps.
Yeah, it's great. Hope that pizza was delicious. The minority leader asked that we bring the quorum call. So. Oh man, the Italian. Ooh, well, tough times. Inflation, tariffs. You know. All right. Question is on the favorable report as amended. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 532 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to layover calendar 30. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 810, Senator King, Public Schools, School Security Personnel, Immigration Investigation and Enforcement. Question is on the adoption of the 5 committee amendments and the favorable report.
Questions on the amendments and the report. On the amendments, any discussion? The objection to the committee amendments. Without objection, the amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Yes, recognize the minority whip.
Can I just ask one question about judicial warrant part of the bill?
To the floor leader?
To the floor leader, please.
Senator may proceed.
This is something that we see in a lot of the bills that we're doing this year, dealing with judicial warrants. And it's very interesting to say we need to see a warrant, judicial warrant, because immigration, because it is a federal but civil federal offense, you can never get a judicial warrant for. You can only get a judicial warrant, as I understand it, for if there's been a federal crime that's like something that's a federal, like felony type crime committed. I may not be explaining that quite right. So I guess my question in this bill is, does the bill now say that the public school personnel do not have to contact the county superintendent? I'm just trying to understand the imposition of judicial warrant. Because if I shows up at a school, which they don't go into schools and deport. I know there's been we've talked about bus stops here earlier and stuff, and I don't believe that happens often. I'm sure there have been times it's happened. They don't go into schools. If an ICE agent goes into a school, there's something has gone wrong. They do not go into schools. Now there have been times that federal agents have gone into schools for reasons that were not immigration, but it was thought that that's what they were doing. And I understand the concern, and I don't think it's bad for the schools to have a policy. Every school system now has put a policy in place at their counties. I guess I'm just trying to understand the use of judicial warrant. That's what I'm trying to understand. is this going to mean that we don't cooperate with other federal authorities because they don't show up with a judicial warrant somewhere?
Right. So at the end of the day, you need a warrant to enter into someone's home. You need a warrant to enter into someone's, workplace. And so in this case, for the school, you need a warrant to enter these necessary school zones.
Well, but just to be clear, we're not saying a warrant. We're saying a judicial warrant. So, and I know this isn't the JPR committee that is the floor lead on the bill, and so my apologies. But why is it specified? It's amended in here, judicial warrant. Why isn't it just like a civil? Because an administrative warrant from ICE is anytime you deport somebody, for example, it is an administrative process. So it's always going to be an administrative warrant. If you require judicial warrant for everything that you're requiring from ICE, then you're saying basically they can just never deport anybody without a judicial warrant. Well, they're never going to get a judicial warrant to deport somebody, even if the person they're deporting is one of those violent criminals, because you get the warrant for the deportation, not the underlying crime. So I just was wondering about the imposition of this in a bill about school security, because it looks to me like it's saying school security personnel cannot ever be used for immigration enforcement, which we agree, we don't want that to be the case. But if they were to be ordered by federal law enforcement to hand someone over, not a child probably, it's more likely to be an adult, then they're going to have to comply with that or they're going to be violating federal law. So if but requiring that you see the administrative warrant would be a reasonable thing to require. I'm concerned about the use of judicial warrant in this context.
Absolutely. So I think that's a great question. I'm glad that we have judiciary, JPR, secondary on this, and so I'm going to yield to our chair of
No, I
JPR.
understand.
So thank you very much.
Yield to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. So if you are present in the United States, the Constitution protects you. And so if someone's going to go into, as the Senator mentioned, your house or a private space or a non-publicly accessible place, you need a judicial warrant to go into those places. An administrative warrant is a warrant issued by a government employee, essentially. It does not carry the force that a judicial warrant does. And you cannot go into those spaces. You cannot infringe upon someone's constitutionally protected rights without a judicial warrant. An administrative warrant does not meet that standard. And so you cannot go into someone's house. You cannot go into a place that's not publicly accessible absent a judicial warrant.
Okay, and that's standard case law. You cannot go into any private space without a judicial warrant, correct?
That's correct.
So administrative warrant. So when ICE has an administrative warrant, for example, since we're talking about ICE, that's for when they go into a place that's public and they apprehend somebody, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now they can probable cause arrest somebody, but again, in public, they can't go into a private space to do that.
Yeah, that's correct, absent a judicial warrant, or if they were witnessing a crime or something like that.
Okay. So is this only, though, about inside the school? Or is this, now I may be bouncing back to our friend from Triple E, but if, so that's helpful. I think the judicial warrant discussion bears more in other bills, so I appreciate the answer. Thank you. If I could ask the floor leader to yield just for a minute more. This bill, I'm trying to read through all the amendments and everything. This bill does this deal with inside the school and on the school grounds, or does it go beyond that?
All right, so this bill is sensitive locations. Sensitive location means a public school, a public library, a healthcare facility operated by a unit of a state or local government, a facility operated by the comptroller, a courthouse, or any other location that provides state-funded services related to physical or mental health, education, shelter care, or access to justice, and as determined by the Attorney General, requires special considerations for immigration enforcement activities.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Mr. President, this bill, it appears, is a safe harbor bill that says if you're in any kind of state property or county educational property, you cannot be deported. That's what the bill says, at least while you're there. So I'm good with schools not being places where we don't want law enforcement going into a school, period, unless there's a law enforcement issue. We obviously have, most of our counties have officers that are at the school or nearby the school, and that's part of the SRO system. But we definitely don't want federal agents just running all over the place. I get that. But this bill is broader than that, in that it sounds like we're basically making all state, unless we did this already, and maybe we did, but it sounds like we're making every state property a deportation-free zone. So based on how the bill has been amended, because we're not going to be able to have any enforcement on any sort of state property, or if you're standing on a sidewalk, that's on state property, you're safe. So that may be an announcement some folks want to put out to people. But just so we're clear, that's how I read the bill. Now I'm happy to be corrected, but I'm reading the bill that this bill and others like it are establishing safe harbor at hospitals, safe harbor at schools. Of course, you can't go into a school as an adult just randomly. You'd have to be a student or maybe a parent. Does this bill envision a situation where a parent that is under danger of deportation would run to the school and go to their kids and try to get in to see their kids and stay in the school so they cannot be deported?
So is that a question? What's the question?
Yeah, I mean, does this bill envision that? Is there if there's a standoff where someone's at the school and they don't want to leave the school and it's a safe harbor because we've passed this bill, and they just say, well, we want to stay after hours because if we don't leave, they can't deport? I assume this bill is silent on what happens if that happens?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. On the report, if there's no further objections, favorable report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 810 is ordered printed for third reading. We're going to do two more layover calendars, then we're going to call it after that. If we don't have the amendment for the additional sponsors, we'll make the audit bill the first order of business on Monday. If we don't have it printed by the time we get through these, we'll see where we are. So let's go to layover calendar number 25. All right, question is on the two amendments in the favorable committee report. On the committee amendments, any objections? Without objection, the two committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Recognize the bill sponsor has an amendment. On the favorable report, any objections to the favorable report? Without objection, the favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Senator has amendments. Page will collect and distribute the senator's amendments. Give us just a moment to get it up on the board, please, Senator. All right. 720. Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. On this bill, I have an amendment in front of everyone that would change the ability for these chain restaurants to have, instead of having the icon next to the menu item, they will have a QR code next to on the menu that would display all of the contents and nutritional value of the food. I move the amendments, Mr. President.
All right, Senator moves the amendments. Recognize the senator from District 1.
Thank you. I was wondering if the maker of the amendment can rise for a question, please.
Sure.
Senator may proceed.
So how does this work? So QR codes can only be so large and so small. And if it's got to be on a menu and it's going to be on every single, how does that work?
In essence, on all the menus that for the chain restaurants, if this bill were to pass, it would be a menu. It would be a QR code, probably at the lower end of that menu, to be displayed. And even in a drive-through, it'd probably be displayed at the end or at the top of the menu.
But that's supposed to then list everything of every item in the menu, then, not a QR code for every menu item.
Correct. It's not a QR code for every menu item. It's just one QR code for the entire menu.
But then I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought it was going to be that we have Braille in the drive-thrus of McDonald's, but I was trying to understand how that all works. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right. On the amendment, any objections to the amendment? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 866 is hereby ordered printed for third reading. Let's go to layover calendar 32. 32. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 417, Senator Lamb, Labor and Employment Mandatory Meetings on Religious or Political Matters. Question is an adoption of one amendment offered from the floor by Senator Gallion.
All right. Question is on the floor amendment by the senator from the 35th. Any discussion of the amendment? Yes, recognize the bill sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So thank you to the maker of the amendment for offering that earlier. The amendment, just to remind the body, moves the implementation date from 2026 to 2027. Would urge the body to resist this amendment. There's not that much that the department would need to be able to undergo to be able to implement this process. I think it's unnecessary to delay the implementation date by a year. They can do this fairly quickly to be able to implement a process to protect our workers across the state.
All right. On the amendment, any further discussion? All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Opposed, nay. Noes have it. Any further amendments? Yes, recognize the senator from the 35th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wondering if the floor leader would yield for a few questions.
Senator may proceed.
Sure.
Thank you. If an employer runs afoul of this law, can you please explain to me the process, how this would work, and what an example would be?
So if an employer runs afoul of this law, the employee could report this to the Maryland Department of Labor for them to investigate and determine whether there's been a violation under this if it were enacted.
Okay, thank you. How does an employee manage routine staff meetings when any discussion touching proposed legislation, regulations, or public policy could trigger one of those violations?
How does a meeting trigger this violation?
How does an employer manage their routine staff meetings when these discussions would come up that could trigger a violation?
Sure. So just to remind the body, this only pertains to religious or political topics that are being discussed at the workplace. It does not, there are exemptions for any discussions or topics that pertain to an individual's actual job. And so if it is related to that worker's job, they can be required to attend. If it is a meeting that the employer is requesting for an employee to attend, that they may be discussing, a candidate running for office, they may be discussing religious matters, they may be discussing, anti-union practices, that would fall under this if it were enacted, and that would be considered a violation. But if it's under the normal responsibilities of that individual's job, they can certainly have that meeting.
Okay, thank you. Just one final question, if I may, Mr. President. Are the defined political matters portrayed so broadly in this bill that it sweeps in normal business briefings on pending laws and regulations?
It is not. It is very narrowly crafted. It is on the second page of the bill that specifies what type of subject matter would fall under the jurisdiction of this if it were enacted. That includes political matters, that's very well enumerated. It also spells out religious matters as well.
Okay,
Only
thank you.
Political and religious matters.
All right. Last bill of the evening, just so we remember. The question right now, are there amendments? Are there amendments to the bill or its title?
I just have a couple of questions, Mr. President.
We have a question. Does the senator have an amendment? Is there a proposal for an amendment?
No.
Might be a third reader debate.
Okay, I'll wait till the third reader.
If that's all right. If
that'd be fine.
I think if there's no further discussion.
Anything to get us home.
All right. If there's no further discussion, Senate Bill 417 is ordered printed for third reading. Thank you for that accommodation. I think that's it. We're going to call it. We're going to call it there. Desk is as clear as it's going to get today. Yes, recognize the senator from Montgomery County. Up. Just a moment. Thank you, Senator.
Would this be an appropriate time for a quick introduction?
Sure, please.
All righty. Well, we just were joined, Mr. President and colleagues, by some midshipmen from the Naval Academy here. And real fast, there's a program for out-of-state midshipmen, and they have what are referred to as foster parents. And our friend Kaylee Locklear has been one of those fosters for about 15 years now, helping to support out-of-state midshipmen, and she is up there with them. But we also have with us Sarah Ayler from Washington State, Cora Butler from New Jersey, Peyton Thomas from Oklahoma, and Gunnar Gavel from Louisiana. Just want to welcome them to the Maryland State
Welcome,
Senate.
welcome. Thank you all for being here.
And thank you all for your service.
Thank you all. All right, yes, Senator from District 6.
That's a point of privilege, a small thing I want to talk about real
Very
quick.
briefly,
Okay,
Senator,
Very
very
briefly.
briefly, yeah.
And I talked to you about this earlier.
Oh, yes.
Yes, sir. We all have friends, we all have family, and we all have people that we look up to. And just yesterday, my cousin was at the hospital, and I was at the hospital with him also. The whole family was there. And at the time, he's not just my cousin, he's my friend, he's like a brother. And he just lost his wife, Vicki. And I just want to say, Mr. President, we don't know what a day may brings. We are not promised tomorrow, but we know what holds us to the end. And Mr. President, you know, Vicki Locklear was a outgoing person. She went above and beyond for everyone. She was a very loving mom, a very loving wife, just a great person that she gave all her time. She was a nurse. She just gave and continued to give. And her last breath and her last things, she just wanted to talk to her family and her loved ones. And she was on the phone for hours every day until her last breath to just say the one thing she wanted to say. She said continually, "I love you." I want to tell everybody here, I care for you. And we have family. And we have loved ones. Please do yourself a favor. Tell your wife and tell your family that you love them. Because you're not promised tomorrow. Please, please do that. Just say to them that you love them. And please, if we could close, and Vicki Locklear's, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Most certainly, Senator. We're so sorry for your loss, and we will certainly adjourn in her honor today. Thank you. Madam Majority Leader has the name, I believe. Yes, Senator from Veterans Caucus, Chair of the Veterans.
The executive noms.
Executive noms, Senators, yes.
Got an update, Mr. President. The executive noms will convene at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
On Monday, yeah.
5 o'clock.
Yes, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you,
All right.
Senator. Anne Arundel County? Protocol. Yes, if we get the Minority Leader and Majority Leader, please to join us at the front here in the well.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I know we're all tired and looking forward to get home, but our pages have done such a wonderful job with us this week, especially in this long, busy week. So we're going to go through them name by name and then thank them properly for helping us out this week. So the first we had was Amaru Alim Carter from Somerset County, District 38. Assad Farouk from Anne Arundel County, District 33. Matthew Glazier from Carroll County, District 11. Morgan King, Prince George's County, District 24. Jasmine Miller, Baltimore City, District 7. Zaria Nakvi, Montgomery County, District 19. Isabella Tiger, Frederick County, District 4. And finally, Tamia Turner, Baltimore County, District 11. Give them a round of applause.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Pages. We are so thankful for your work. Did an excellent and awesome job. You all are bright and shining stars. As our wonderful senator from the 24th District would say, our Hallmark cards to the future. Hallmark cards, our Hallmark cards. All right, excellent. Well, thank you all again. We look forward to hearing about your great adventures moving forward. Have a great rest of the school year, and good luck in your adventures next year. Let's see, do we have any? Yes, Senator from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. I understand that I just wanted to say thank you to the Protocol Committee for allowing the Italian opportunity for refreshment, but as an Oliver Twist lover, may I have more, please? More. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, look, you know, the Budget and Tax Committee is trying to cut every corner, okay? Cut every corner. No excess here. We're cutting out all the fat. Yes, yes, Senator from District 11.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Baltimore County Senate delegation will not be meeting on Monday.
No Baltimore County. All right. Any further announcements? Yes. Sure, yes, please. Yes, Triple E.
Triple E committee will meet on Monday at 11 a.m. for a few votes.
11 a.m. for Triple E. Noon. Noon. Yep.
Yes,
we'll do
11 a.m.
Noon on Monday. Noon on Monday. No Saturday though. Yes, budget tax.
Stay tuned, but 11 for now.
11 for now for B&T. 11 for B&T. Any others? Judicial proceedings.
Do 11 a.m. for voting.
11 a.m. on Monday for judicial proceedings. Anything else? All right. I think that does it. This was a long week, everyone. Thank you. I hope everyone gets a little bit of rest this weekend and try to recover. We're almost there. Last 3 weeks. So if we could do a quorum call.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote or presence? So the clerk will take the call. With 41 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session, recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Monday, March 20th at noon. 12 noon p.m.
In honor of?
In honor of Vicki Locklear.
Excellent. Without objection, so ordered. Have a wonderful and safe weekend, everyone. See you on Monday.